Hey everybody, Jim Masters here. Welcome to the Jim Masters Show Celebrity Conversations series. We have a very special guest who's making a return visit to our show. You see her on the screen, the wonderful author, actress, and so much more, the extraordinary and dear friend of our show, Dreama Denver. You know, we've been celebrating the 60th anniversary of Gilligan's Island, and of course, her late husband, the TV icon from Gilligan's Island, and so much more. One of the most beloved actors of all time, Bob Denver. She continues to celebrate his life and legacy, and fans around the world have been honoring one of television's most beloved and enduring sitcoms, Gilligan's Island. And few people are suited to reflect on its remarkable legacy than our guest coming up right now and right here on the Jim Masters Show. Here we go. And here is my lovely and talented special guest returning to the Jim Masters Show Celebrity Conversations series, the one and only Dreama Denver. Dreama, thank you much for joining us once again. It's always a blessing to have you with us. And how have you been, my friend?
I have been good, and I'm so happy to be here. I've never seen that opening before. And
You
that
like
was
it?
really, yeah, I love it. It was great.
You know who would also approve is Bob. Bob would love that show opening, wouldn't he? He likes
He would.
creativity and artistry and something that gives you a good feeling, right?
He would love all of that. Yes, he would love you too. I'm so sorry that you never got to interview
meet him
him. You didn't
personally.
ever interview him, did you? Ever?
No. I would love to have. But, you know, in a way, you do carry his spirit and his vibe. So it's like, you know, 1 degree separation from Bob Denver by chatting with you as well. But you have your own career. You have your own incredible background, too, and resume. But you've been so beautiful at celebrating this icon in entertainment and the arts in such a beautiful way. And how I know this is because I've been channeling Bob in recent years, as you know, and to the point where the bobblehead of Bob that you sent to me,
That's
there
right,
it is,
years ago.
with love, Dreama Denver, the official Bob Denver bobblehead. Dreama took a look at our set a couple of years ago because she's been on several times. She's a dear friend. She's a Jim Master Show regular, as you've heard me refer to Dreama on other episodes with other guests. And she lovingly sent this when she said, "There's one thing missing from your set, Jim, your beautiful set. And it's a Bob Denver Gilligan bobblehead." So he's always here. He's usually right here next to the I Dream a Genie bottle, of course.
Of course.
But
Right where he belongs.
right where he belongs, but we'll keep him here. So you have been so busy. I mean, I know a lot of people have been really sharing their love of Gilligan's Island and of Bob and all the roles Bob played. But you have always been out there in such a loving way, celebrating his legacy. And I'm talking about books and public appearances and a documentary. I Love Bob. How did this all come together? And what is it like when you hear from the fans who express to you their love for Bob and for you and the two of you together all these years?
You know, it is, first of all, I have so many people come up and thank me for keeping his legacy alive. And honestly, looking at his legacy and keeping that alive is saved me it after he passed away. Because honestly, I know it sounds so melodramatic, but I did not think I could live without him. I'm sure anybody who's been married to their soulmate, a term that I'm not really crazy about, but actually applies, you know, and then you lose that person. It is so devastating. There's such an emptiness and such a hole in your life. And so after a few years, I didn't start doing it right away, but after a few years to start, you know, doing these appearances, and he's the one that that encouraged me, actually challenged me to write the first bear book, the first 4 bear book. He gave me a title and said, write a book about that. And I was like, what would bears be doing in a box? And he was like, that's what you got to figure out. And I was like, okay. So I figured that out and wrote the book years after he passed away. But that was sort of my first attempt, I guess, at doing something in his honor and his memory. Aside from keeping the radio station going, which I have, I've done that. Now the radio station, Little Buddy Radio, is 22 years old, which just blows my mind. But you know, keeping his memory alive and celebrating him, and in the process, kind of forging my own way, has been really what saved me and what has allowed me to create, amazingly to me, a really beautiful life for myself, and one that I know he'd be proud of. At least I really hope so. That's always been my aim, is to make him proud.
Oh, absolutely, in every way possible. And again, the love that the two of you had for each other and that you continue to have, keeping his memory and spirit alive with you all these years, incredibly beautiful. Anybody who doesn't know the story, and there's a wonderful shot of the two of you going back. This is Bob and Dreamer, folks. How did you two initially meet? What brought the two of you together? And then, of course, this amazing love affair and years of marriage and just everything that came along with it. Tell us about that Bob and Dreamer story.
Well, you've got some of my favorite pictures there. I'm watching them go by. They're wonderful.
This is
Um,
beautiful. You know what I love about this particular one? It's just look at the way the two of you are looking at one another. It's almost like looking at one. He's enamored by you, you're enamored by him, and you can just feel the warmth and the love between you and Bob deeply in that photo. It's a stunner of a photo.
Thank you so much. That's the cover of Gilligan's Dreams, and that picture was taken on the dance floor of the Love Boat. And
Of the Love Boat.
we were on the dance
That's
floor,
right.
and the photographer was going through, I guess, and he said I have a whole proof sheet of pictures, and that was my favorite one from the proof sheet. But yeah, you can see up the studio lights up in the top
Oh,
there.
yeah, right, sure.
Yeah, and so we were on the dance floor, and he came and took a bunch of pictures, and we just ended up loving that one. You know, that is really indicative. I know this. It's indicative of exactly how we felt about each other, and the look of love you see there was so real and so true. And the way I met Bob, getting back to the question, was I was an actress in my young life, and I'd worked with a lot of celebrities prior to Bob. I worked with Sal Mineo, was my first professional stage show that I ever did, was with Sal, and Sal was wonderful. I did a 6-month tour with him, which was a lot of fun. And then I worked with Gail Gordon, Mr. Mooney from The Lucy Show, and oh my gosh, Doug McClure, big heartthrob from the Virginian. So back in the day, I'd worked with a lot of people before I met Bob. And I was in Florida visiting my family in Orlando. And a friend called me, a girlfriend, and said, you know, they're casting for a show called Play It Again, Sam, over in St. Petersburg, and you should go over because you're perfect for the part. And I said, okay. So I went over and I auditioned and I got the part. And I was talking to the producer after she told me I had the part. And I said, so who's going to be starring in the show? And she said, Bob Denver. And I literally went, Gilligan? And she goes, yeah. And I went, seriously? I'm going to have to kiss and do love scenes with Gilligan? Really? And she said, well, yeah, if you want the part. I went, oh, well, I know I did. And if you want the part, you're going to have to. And I went, oh, I want the part. I do want the part. So she was like, okay. So I came to rehearsals. I guess rehearsals started like 2 weeks later or something. And I got there and they had a marquee out front that said, Bob Denver starring in Play It Again, Sam, also starring Dreamer Perry, which was my maiden name. And so I walked in thinking I'm going to have to talk to the producer to get the marquee changed because it's not Dreamer. And we got to rehearsal. Everybody's there but Bob, and we're having, the get to know you conversations. Who have you worked with? What is Bob Denver going to be like? All that. And suddenly I hear a voice from the doorway saying, "What the heck is a dreamer?" And I went, "That would be me." And he goes, "Seriously, your name is Dreamer?" And I said, "No, no, no. My name is Dreama," which he thought equally as strange. And he came over and he put his hand out. We shook hands and he said, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Dreama." And nobody had ever said my name like that. It was palpable. Whatever was going on between us, everybody noticed. Everybody. It was like everybody in the cast was like, "Whoa, what was that?" And opening night, when we got our first review for the show, the reviewer said, and I have this in one of my books, I think it's in Gilligan's Dreams, but the reviewer said that the chemistry between Bob Denver and Dreama Perry is, unbelievable, blah, blah, blah. Their scenes are so good together, all this kind of stuff. And then 2 years later, we came back to do the show, Catch Me If You Can. And at that point, we were married. And the reviewer's review then, same reviewer, came back and said in the review, "I told you so." It was so cute to have him be able to say that, "I told you there was something going on here." And there was. It was just immediate. And it lasted for 30 years. So, that's pretty real.
That is real. Absolutely. For anybody watching who knows him, of course, as beloved Gilligan, and of course remembers him on Dobie Gillis and so many other things that he did. Of course, Gilligan's Island celebrating the 60th year, which is unbelievable to know. A lot of these shows have been having these retrospectives. We've had the cast of Little House on the Prairie on. We've had folks from the Waltons, the TV series Family with Christy McNichol and Gary Frank and Sada Thompson. Some just epic shows that are being fondly remembered. And of course, Gilligan, that character of Gilligan, and just the amazingly perfectly cast ensemble that joined Bob was extraordinary. For you to carry on the legacy, to have celebrated the 60th, it's do you feel a responsibility? I mean, he was your husband, you were in love with each other, of course you have a beautiful son. Is there a legacy responsibility that you feel to not just carry the torch, but to continue, which you do so beautifully, honor the fans of you and Bob, the show, and everything that is all part of the equation, Dreama?
I don't know if I would call it feeling a responsibility to do it. Again, it was my pleasure to be able to do it. But the way I look at it is Bob left me such a legacy of love. I mean, people who love that show. They grew up, they ran home from school every single day. They didn't want to miss the episode where they got rescued, They loved it and they loved him. And consequently, what I found as I started getting out there, doing what I do now, I found that all of that love they felt for him spilled over onto me. It got my foot in the door of certain things. And it was, I don't know, it got my foot in the door. And happily, I'm glad to be able to say that once I got in the door, people liked me, for me, not just for him. And I was able to take that legacy of love for him and have some of that for myself. I don't know exactly how to put it, except to say that he just left me rich in that way, in the way that people love me because they loved him. They want to like me, and that is really a wonderful thing and a responsibility, I think. I don't want to, first of all, I would never be, a bad, crappy person. I just wouldn't do that. But it makes me want to be that much more, I don't know, genuine and loving toward the fans because they care so much about him. It is a responsibility, I guess. But I didn't think of it that way initially. I think now I would think of it more that way than I did.
Carrying on the legacy, but also continuing the love that you have for him, that you've had all of these years, which I think is it's just a sweet story of the two of you and everything that you shared in the time that you had together. Of course, we all wish that Bob were still here with us. But through you, we do get a chance to hear the stories, to celebrate, his incredible body of work, the people he's worked with. Again, 60 years of the iconic Gilligan's Island as well. For those watching, how much of Gilligan was Bob and Bob Gilligan?
Um, hmm. Well, the thing that would surprise people the most, I think, is how highly intelligent he was, how
Right.
incredibly well read he was. He could talk to anybody on any subject. He was equally as comfortable with the President of the United States, which we did back in the 90s, as he was with, the guy helping him pick out paint down at Lowe's. I mean, I just love that about him. Um, he had Gilligan's sweetheart, I think, his genuineness, his kindness. He really did have all those things. However, Bob was very, oh gosh, I don't want to say he was a loner, but he loved being home, being quiet, reading a book. He read about 5 books a week. Honestly, I'm not kidding. He just read like he was an avid reader. Um, and that's, I think, what he really enjoyed most, was just being quiet and peaceful and doing his thing. However, he was the person who, when he was out and about, out doing personal appearances or working, then he was equally as good at that. But he was just a very quiet, low-key human being, much more than people would think if you're going by Gilligan. If you're going by the mishaps that he always caused, then you're going to think that Bob was kind of like that, but he was nothing like that. I remember when I first met him, that first show we did together. At one point, we were at his apartment getting ready to go to the theater, and Gilligan's Island, like everybody else, it was on after, during those hours, and the TV was on, and I was sitting next to him on the sofa, and if this was him and the TV's there, I just kept going like, trying to marry the two. I couldn't, he was so different in that regard from that character that I was having a hard time, making it be the same person in my head. But he was very, I just think he was the best parts of Gilligan and the best parts of just a human being in general. That's how I always saw him.
Which is a beautiful way to express it, and you've expressed so much of it too in your writings and your public appearances. And Gilligan Dreams, for anybody who doesn't have this, I actually have this. It was sent to me by Dreama with Bob. Tell us about what inspired writing this one.
I if you know who Homer Hickam is, Homer Hickam is a New York Times bestselling author of the book Rocket Boys,
Right.
that was made into the movie October Sky, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as Homer and Laura Dern and Chris Cooper. A lot of great people in that movie. A really wonderful, inspirational movie. And Homer's a friend of mine. I met him, oh gosh, about 6 months after Bob passed away. He was a big fan of Bob's. And get this, he got in touch with me. He reached out on MySpace. That
Wow.
tells you how
Remember
long
that?
ago that
Remember
was.
MySpace?
To let me give his condolences and let me know he'd been a big fan of Bob's. And he was having a book signing here in West Virginia, and I went to it to meet him and say hello. And as we were talking, he and his manager, who is now also my manager, and I, the three of us were talking, and Homer, was hearing some of the stories. He said, "You really need to write a book. You need to write a book about your life with Bob." And so that sort of is what put me on that path. Bob had always said to me during our marriage, "After I'm gone, if ever you want to write a story, write a book about our story, our love story," because we had a very interesting relationship, as I'm sure a lot of people do. But we started out, it was all, in and out of Hollywood and time in Hawaii. And then we had a son, and our son was diagnosed with severe autism, and life changed completely. So it was a story that he felt would be interesting to people dealing with that. Because if there's anybody in the audience listening now, I don't know um, if they react the same way I did, but I have a feeling that they would, because I did. I was married to a famous person. However, when I would hear that John Travolta had an autistic child, or Jenny McCarthy, or Tony Braxton, any of the people who had autism as part of their world, when I would hear about that, I don't know how to explain it, but there was some kind of comfort in that, to feel like you weren't the only person going through it. So I had to believe that people who were fans of Bob's, who loved the show and loved him, when they found out that Bob Denver was going through something very similar to what they were going through, there was that connection, that familiarity that a lot of people wouldn't understand because they hadn't gone through it. So I wanted to write the book for them too, to let them know what we went through, and the challenges we faced with our son that they might be facing with their own child. Something similar, maybe not exact, but similar. And so the book came about for a lot of reasons. Bob had encouraged me to do it, if ever I needed to or wanted to. Homer Hickam encouraged me to do it. And then I just felt that it was a love story. It was a story about facing challenges together and making a commitment to each other. When you marry and you take your vows, we took those vows seriously. It was in sickness and in health till death do us part, which is how it ended up being for us. And I don't know, I just wrote it for all those different reasons, and am so proud that that book has won, oh my gosh, maybe 10 awards, 9 or 10 awards. They're all on the front of the book. I'm really proud of that. And I have had people tell me that they have read it over and over numerous times. I've had people tell me that once they picked it up, they couldn't put it down. There's nothing that's more complimentary to an author than to hear that. So then I wanted to follow that up on the 60th anniversary of Gilligan's Island with to celebrate that with a book that I titled Island to Icon. And if you have Bob's book and Gilligan's Dreams and Island to Icon, in my words, you have the Denver trifecta. It's everything you need to know, because Island to Icon ended up being more of a scrapbook photo album kind of book that I'm so proud of. I went through his mother's thing. I had a lot of things myself, memorabilia and all that, but I went through his mother's things that she had left us when she passed away. And you're not going to believe this. I had this in my possession for probably 35 years, a box of hers that became ours when she passed away. And I had never, Colin, taking care of Colin, Bob and I did that for 20 years full time. Taking care of him had taken up so much energy and actual time that I had never taken this box out of the closet shelf and gone through it. So I was going through this box, and oh my gosh, newspaper clippings from when he was cast as Maynard, and reviews, and a newspaper article or magazine article maybe when he was chosen one of, along with Burt Reynolds and Connie Stevens, and so the guy who played Johnny Umar was a rebel. I don't know, that's an old show, but Nick somebody, I can't think of his last name, but they were all like the up and coming stars in Hollywood. Well, Bob was one of those. And then there was I had seen this online, and people would always ask me what it was, and I didn't know, and Bob wasn't here, so I couldn't ask. But it was ended up being a magazine article that Gran had in this box of hers of Bob and Ed Burns and Annette and Frankie and somebody else. It was like photos of this group of young stars from back in the day. And I was like, what is that from? And I went through Gran's box, and there it was. It was a symposium Now, Annette was the only girl. Remember, it was all men and Annette. And the symposium was what girls do that drive boys crazy in a bad way. I mean, in a annoying way kind of thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's what Annette was the only one to represent all of us. And then we had all these guys surrounding her, but it was great guys. It was like such a Cookie. That's Ed Burns, right? Cookie was Ed
Yes,
Burns,
Ed Burns, right?
and Frank Avalon and Annette and Pat Boone. Pat Boone was sitting right next to Bob in some of the pictures. It was just an amazing thing to find. So that was a great thing that went in the book. But also, I'm not going to give all of it away. But also, Jim, I think you'll appreciate this. I'm going through a stack of cards and I'm looking at them and I come to this Season's Greetings, Merry Christmas postcard to Bob from Elvis and the Colonel. That had been in my possession for 35 years.
Wow.
And I had no idea. So that's in the book, pictures of that in the book.
That's
and
in the
then
book
handwritten
too.
notes. And you have to be a certain age, I think, to appreciate the golden age of Hollywood. But from the golden age of Hollywood, handwritten notes to Bob's mother from Glenn Ford.
Wow.
And the reason those were there,
The treasures, yeah.
yeah, is because Gran, which I had kind of forgotten. I do write about it in Gilligan's Dreams, though, but Gran had been a companion when she was 75 years old. She was a companion to Glenn Ford's mother, who was 90 at the time. And that was Gran's job. I think 3 or 4 days a week, she would go sit with Mrs. Ford. And we went to, I had no idea, Bob wouldn't tell me where we were going, but we ended up going to Glenn Ford's house to pick Gran up. And I didn't know that's where we were going. And so imagine meeting Glenn Ford. I was in a Ford fog, I have to tell you. We sat at his kitchen table having coffee with he and his new wife at the time. And I could not tell you one thing we talked about. I have no idea. It's all like a blur. But that was very exciting. And so he would write Gran these lovely little notes thanking her for, a certain thing that she had done for his mother or some way she had helped his mom. And that was, so those were all in there. The book is just full of all kinds of really fun things. I wrote something for every chapter about something in that chapter. And that's all the writing. So for people who maybe don't like to read as much as you would have to read with Gilligan's Dreams or Bob's book, Gilligan, Maynard, and Me, then Island Icon is perfect because there's a little reading and then there's lots of pictures and lots of articles and lots of interviews and all that kind of stuff through Bob's whole career. And I get to be in the book only because I was part of his career. So I made the book. Yay. I was so
Is it
excited.
therapeutic for you when you write the books that have Bob in it? I imagine they're almost like love letters to him in a way, and it keeps his spirit connected right there next to your heart. I imagine it could be emotional, it can be very deep, but also inspiring at the same time. What is the writing process like for you as you're writing about somebody who, is an icon in entertainment and TV, but also for you personally, the love of your life?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword in a lot of ways. It's when I wrote Gilligan's Dreams, I'd always heard that to write a memoir, you have to go back and relive it. And boy, is that true. You have to put yourself back in those places, good and bad. You have to breathe it and smell it and feel it, all the emotion. I mean, it's until you start doing it, I don't know if it's easy to understand. I guess it wasn't for me until I started doing it. But, to retell something, you've got to go back to it. You got to be there. You got to feel it. You got to go through all the things that you went through. So when we're talking about falling in love and the first kiss and spending all the time that we spent in Hawaii because we loved it there so much, that's all beautiful, but it's so bittersweet, because you're reliving that first flush of love and that first, just all the things that go into when you can't stand to be apart from each other, you want to be together every second. You're reliving all of that, and that's bittersweet. And then when you get to the hard stuff, when you get to the diagnosis of your child, when he was this beautiful little 2-year-old that you thought was going to be perfectly fine, and now you find out, no, not true. It's going to change your life in great big ways. And the interesting thing with Bob and I, when it came to that, there was never any discussion about what are we going to do. Obviously, I gave up acting at that time to be with him. And Bob, somebody had to bring home the bacon. So Bob continued to do guest starring roles and personal appearances and that kind of thing to keep, to be able to pay the bills and all that. But, your life is going to change and you don't know how exactly. And that you go from looking at it from the new vantage point where you are now, looking back on how you approached it then and what you thought it might be like and in what ways it was different than what you thought and in what ways it was exactly what you thought. That's all, oh my gosh, it's all kind of overwhelming. And then you get to I, of course, wrote about his death and the 6 months, those last 6 months and what that was like. And that's, it takes a lot out of you, the good and the hard. It's just a, I don't know, kind of an up and down roller coaster of emotions when you're doing it. But at the end, I don't know, I felt when I in my head did the end at the end of the book, I felt quite an accomplishment. And since then, the comments that I've gotten from readers who've read the book and have found a lot of value in it, have felt that they were helped greatly by something they read in it. That's so gratifying. It just really is gratifying. And I think Bob would be very, like I said before, I think he'd be very proud. That makes me happy. And I can't recommend the Denver Trifecta enough because I write the personal story, Bob writes the career story, and then you get in pictures what is in both of those books. So I just feel it's a trilogy that I'm very proud of.
It really, really is. And, it's a beautiful thing, too, for people to have who get to, dig a little bit deeper, a little bit more about Bob and about you and the love. And, of course, all the iconic moments that came along the way, too, with Hollywood, with television, with film, with all the things, the people that you've met, the adventures you've been on, even sailing on the Love Boat with Captain Steubing and company. I mean, how cool is that?
Julie, the cruise director, and everybody. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Isaac, the bartender, and all the
We
guys.
had Ted Lange on the show, and we had Fred Grandy on the show as well, and they were fantastic. And we had Jill as well, and they were fantastic. And that show's beloved. And we're talking about also celebrating 60 years and counting of Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is people still love this show? We had, I may have mentioned it to you, Dreama, we had Lloyd Schwartz on, of course. Lloyd working on this show with his father, Sherwood Schwartz, and of course on the Brady Bunch and so many other iconic shows. What is it about the adventures and the craziness and the love and the fun of Gilligan's Island that has us still talking about it and celebrating it 60 plus years later? And I'm sure you get to feel the love and warmth of the fans and then the super fans of Bob and the cast and of course the series as a whole, right?
Right. Bob always had what I felt was a really good answer to the longevity of the show. And that was, let me see if I can put it the way he always said. That was, you cannot take Gilligan's Island, unlike other shows from that era of television, you cannot take Gilligan's Island and place it in any particular time period. You're on an island. There are no phones, no motor cars, not a single luxury. Isn't that what the song says? You don't have any of those things to make it look like the 60s. The only thing that might is the one episode with the mosquitoes. Do you remember that episode where they were obviously a takeoff on the Beatles? And
Yes.
they landed on the island. I can't remember how, but they were on the island. And that would be the only thing, because it was so reminiscent of the Beatles at that time, that might put it in a time or place. But you can't, the show, you could take that show right now, having never been on the air, and put the color episodes on the air right now, and they would be fine, because it was, just not able to be placed anywhere in particular. I think also nowadays, especially, I think there's such a harking back that people have for nostalgia, for innocence. The show was TV back then. Bob and I did a pilot for a TV series called Scamps for NBC, and I saw an episode, that one episode. There was only one episode, but I saw it not too long ago, and TV was different then. There was just an innocence in the way things were filmed, and innocence in the dialogue, and it was just a whole different animal than it is now. And I think people kind of are nostalgic for that. The world is so complicated now that, anything that takes you back to a simpler time, Love Boat or Fantasy Island or, Mary Tyler Moore, any of those shows that take you back to that simpler, or what seemed like a much simpler time. I think there's a love for that, and maybe a need for that. And I think that's kind of why Gilligan keeps on keeping on.
Gilligan keeps on keeping on and keeps on going 60 plus years as we continue to celebrate that series. Do you think Bob today would be bowled over by the fact that people still refer to him and the cast and the series, and some can actually recite word for word episodes? They can sing the theme song. Back when theme songs were a big thing on television shows, you'd be singing along to the theme song, knowing what to expect and what was coming up next, which was really, really cool. I sort of miss those days.
Yeah,
but we've talked about it on the show, with some folks who have been a part of these iconic classic TV shows, and the importance of the theme song and the music and the underscoring of the music and all. I talked to Lloyd Schwartz about that too. And
I love the Schwartz family. They're such great people.
Really geniuses too. The amount of television that they created for all of us that still endures today is really amazing. Do you think that Bob would be bowled over by the love that still exists for him and the other cast members and for the series as a whole?
I guarantee it, because when he passed away, the show had been on the air for about 40 years at that point. He's been gone. It'll be 21 years in September, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So it was like 40 years at the time he passed away. And he, even then, couldn't believe that people were still watching. People still cared. He was still popular, still doing the personal appearances, guest starring roles. What's really interesting about Gilligan, and this still happens, I can't think of any example right off the top of my head right now, I don't think. Yeah, I can. Well, Gilmore Girls is going a ways back, but I do like that show a lot. It is still mentioned to this day. There'll be some comment. Oh, what are you doing? Going on in some series, taking a 3-hour tour. There's always some reference to Gilligan. Even now, all these years, 62 years later, it comes up in dialogue and in TV series all the time. And I was watching something just the other night, and it came up twice. And I was like, really? That's so, Bob, are you hearing this? This is so funny. I just think you would think it would die out sooner or later, because the world is so different now with, it's not, to me, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem to be so much about TV stars the way it was back in those days. Like if you had a show on one of the networks like Bob did, and there were only 3 networks at the time, even if people didn't watch your show, they knew who you were, because there weren't that many TV stars at the time. Now it seems to be all about the influencers, and there's so many of those. It's all about what's online, and it's so different than it was back then. And you would think that the show would get lost in the shuffle, but it really hasn't. I don't think. It may not be on to the degree it used to be, like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even early 2000s, but it's it's still talked about, still referred to all the time.
It really is, which is amazing. And like I said, that you're out there doing your thing, preserving the legacy, telling this story, which I think is really something very, very special. And the fans absolutely love the fact that you're out there doing that, Dreama, to the point of even there's a museum too that's the future home of the Bob Denver
You've
Museum.
got the picture. I
How
love it.
cool is that? I mean,
Uh,
wow.
it's very, very exciting. They have asked me, oh my gosh, here in Princeton, Bob lived the last 15 years of his life here, and he loved it here. He loved West Virginia. He loved the whole small town, easygoing, laid back. I told you that's who he was, really. He's very laid back and low key. So he loved it here. And I guess they've talked to me, sort of informally, maybe for 15 years, we should do a museum, blah, 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 blah. And I would also, I would go, yeah, that'd be great. And then nothing would ever really happen. About 8 years ago, I guess 7 or 8 years ago, they approached me. They were renovating a theater in downtown Princeton, like all small towns, beautiful theater from like back in the early 1900s when it started. It has had a few different lives over the years, but had been left and neglected for quite a few years. And they approached me about 8 years ago and they said, if we renovate this theater, which we're thinking about doing, how would you feel about having a Bob Denver museum? And I said, if you can make it happen, if you raise the money to reno everything, I think that would be great. So it's going to be part of the Renaissance Theater. The design is going to be, oh gosh, I wish I should have sent you this prior to this. I didn't think about talking about this, but the inside of the theater they sent me the rendering of what they hope it's going to look like. And they're early stages right now, but I can see it taking shape to look like what they sent me. And it is going to be beautiful. It's on the ceiling. There's going to be a blue lagoon it's going to be so pretty on the ceiling, glass cases up one wall with all the things that we're displaying. It's going to have a Gilligan's Island pinball machine, which is mine, that I'm donating to it. Also a Harlem Globetrotters, because Jim, that I was in the third Gilligan's Island movie, which was the Harlem Globetrotters on Gilligan's Island. So
That's right.
I've got the two pinball machines that people will be able to play. We're going to have an area that's going to have my replica minnow. I have like a 7-foot replica of the SS Minnow and palm trees and sand where you can have your picture taken looking like you're on the island. It's going to be wonderful. And I can't wait until it, maybe we can talk again when it actually opens, because I think it's going to be great. Let's see, how long ago did we do this? Back in June, we did a Gilligan yacht rock party. I don't know if you saw that on Facebook, but we did a Gilligan yacht rock party where there's a yacht rock band that they dress as the Gilligan's Island characters, and they're so good. And I love yacht rock music. And we did, there you are on top of everything, my friend. There they are. We had a lot of Gilligans running around. But what we decided we want to do is yearly have this and have something akin to, not as big as, but something akin to Mayberry Days, which I do every year. They do that for like a week, but we're thinking like a Gilligan's Island weekend where you can come to see the museum, come dressed as one of the characters, have all the contests, the best Gilligan, the best this, the best. It can really lend itself into being a really fantastic weekend. And the people who came in June, I had people come from Mayberry Days, the people who do that came up and they loved it, loved every minute of it. We had such a good time. And
So
yacht rock
cool.
music. Who knew how good it was?
Music, right?
It's the best stuff from the 70s and early 80s. I love it so much.
All the feel good stuff too.
Yeah.
And documentary.
Yes, we're working
Filming
on
in
that.
progress. Yeah.
We are
Wow.
coming along. This was the day at the Granada Theater over in Bluefield, the next town over, where I was actually born and raised, was in Bluefield. We went to the newly restored and beautiful Granada Theater that now looks exactly like it looked when I was a kid dating, going on dates to the Granada. We filmed all of my interviews for the documentary. We filmed them on stage at the Granada Theater. So that was the day we were doing all that. It was so much fun. Another exhausting thing, again, because you're talking for the documentary and you're talking about the different facets of marriage to him and life with him, and again, it can be emotional. By the end of the day, you're pretty drained, but so much fun. I have such a great team of people. I'm not kidding. My manager, Burke Allen, is awesome. Chris Hudson, who is the documentary filmmaker, who he's won an Emmy, like a regional Emmy for a documentary he did called The Mayberry Effect, about that show. Have him, Kevin Sizemore, a producer out of Hollywood, good friend. So exciting. Ty DiMartino, who is also a screenwriter, I'm just surrounded by great people. God has brought the most amazing people into my life. I'm not kidding you, who have really set me on a path that I didn't expect to go on. I never thought of a documentary, but we have done so much. And my kid was able to, Colin was able to, Chris Hudson went with David, Colin's main caregiver, and me, spent a day with us going to parks and going to the food court at the mall, which is like such a big deal in the Denver household. To be able to go and have a meal out with my kid is something I waited 41 years to be able to do, and was able to do that last summer. It has just been just miracle one after another, just beautiful miracles that have made me feel so great about how I'm able to honor my husband. That's very important to me. And I am still, as far as I'm concerned, I'm still Mrs. Denver. I like to be referred to as Dreama Denver, the wife of the late Bob Denver, because that's what I feel I still am. Look at that.
Absolutely.
Now you're doing the website.
Yes, of
I am
course.
so excited. I updated that last week.
Beautiful. The official home of Bob Denver, everybody's little buddy, of course,
Right?
1935 to 2005. And a little bit about the documentary that we're talking about, folks, is I Love Bob Denver. And it's going to be something really, really special.
They're
And
actually calling, I'm going to correct one thing. They're calling it I Heart Bob Denver.
Oh, I heart. So yeah, the heart for
So
the I
heart
heart.
is for
Right. I
iHeart,
like
like
that
iHeart
even
Radio.
better than I love, right?
Yes. Well, I love Bob Denver, but yeah, that works. I Heart Bob Denver. And it really is going to go through, obviously his career. It's going to go through, our
Beautiful.
marriage, having our son.
Yeah.
And I'm very honored that they're going to continue with things that I have done that I'm very proud of since Bob passed away. Not just honoring Bob, but honoring our veterans. I founded the first sanctioned honor flight in the state of West Virginia. So I have a real soft spot and a huge respect for the veterans of this country, and certainly in my state. We did honor flight for 10 or 12 years. We took 10 or 11 trips to Washington, D.C. with veterans, West Virginia veterans, to see their memorials. Very proud of that. I headed the effort to have Country Roads Take Me Home adopted as an official state song of West Virginia, and that happened back in 2014. They had tried it, I don't know, 3 times before, I think, and had not been able to get it through. And buddy, I'm telling you, failure was not an option. I I was going to get that going one way or the other, and was able to do that. And that was so exciting during the World Cup. It was used so much, that song, that I was teary practically the whole time that was going on, because every time I turned on, not turned on the TV, but every time I went to social media, there was, some countries singing that song as kind of a theme, an anthem of sorts. So that was very exciting. And let's see, what else did I do that it's just been wonderful. I tell you, I've just been able to create a wonderful life for myself because God has sent all the right people, has put people in my life to help me get there. And I see my new book in the middle there.
Your books, right? If people might not realize, she's a wonderful published author too. And the Four Bears collection, Four Bears in a Box Birthday Bash is the newest. If you have the others, folks, that you see there, Four Bears in a Box is the newest, the third and final book of the Four Bear trilogy. Tell us about that one, and congratulations, my friend.
Thank you. I said earlier that Bob inspired the first one, really challenged me to do Four Bears in a Box. And then after that, I did Four Bears in a Box, Back to the Beach. And if you know anything about Bob's career, you know that he did a movie called Back to the Beach, which is part of the reason, that part of where this title came from for the second book. They both won all kinds of awards. And this one, the Four Bears Birthday Bash, is I wanted to write something for children that talk to them about being proud of their country, respecting the flag, honoring their veterans, honoring people who fight for our freedom. I wanted to do something like that. And I actually started doing that about, I guess, 3 years ago. Started a bear book about that. And then the publisher and I, Headline Books, we decided that we would wait for this year because it is the 250th birthday. So the whole, it's a great book regardless, even if it's not the 250th birthday, if it's 251 years, it's going to be fine. But what I wanted to do, the bears, the first book, Four Bears in a Box, is about their magic box that in their imagination can become anything. So in the second book, it becomes a hot air balloon that takes them back to the beach to find the man in the red shirt and the white hat. But in the third book, it also becomes a hot air balloon, and they're flying. They're caught up in a big gust of wind. They get stuck on something. They look down. They are stuck on top of the Washington Monument. They have to shimmy down. They get to the bottom. Baby Boo, the youngest bear, takes off running and runs right into the legs of Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam is there with his nephew, Yankee Doodle. He takes the four bears and his nephew, Yankee Doodle, around Washington, shows them the Capitol, the Statue of Freedom on top, talks to them about that. It's just in young children's terms, it is a wonderful little tiny lesson on loving our country and honoring our veterans and our flag. I just wanted to do that so badly because I feel like sometimes young people aren't hearing positive things. And I'm telling you, the art in the book is so beautiful. The illustrations are gorgeous. I have not actually seen it. I have not gotten mine yet. I'm supposed to get them the first week of August, and I'll have it available on the website then, and it will be available also at Amazon. You can pre-order at Amazon now, but I'm telling you, if you're going to a kid's birthday party and you need your kid needs to take a present, it would be wonderful for that. It's just a really sweet and beautiful to look at book. I'm so proud of it and so excited about it.
Congratulations, my friend.
You're
always right. Of course, we've talked about the other books here on our show, but folks can go to bobdenver.com to learn about the books and everything else, which I think is fantastic. It is a beautiful website, and the updates look terrific. Tell us a little bit about Little Buddy Radio, which I know for anybody who doesn't know exists, this nonprofit radio station owned and operated by the Denver Foundation.
Right.
It's something really near and dear to your heart.
It is. The radio station saved my life immediately after Bob died. I was able to We had just started it about 8 months before he was diagnosed. And then I was gone for 6 months. It continued on, the station did, because it was automated. But for 6 months I was away from it. And when I came home, obviously he had passed away. And it was really important to me to realize that dream of the radio station he had wanted us to have. And I just kept at it. And back before we had iPods and 5,000 songs in our pocket, when that was unheard of, I had a huge playlist on Little Buddy Radio, worked on it for months and months and, well, years actually, after he passed away. And it kind of saved my life, you know, to be able to do that and keep it going. Plus, I got to live in the music, which was wonderful and so much fun. For a while, I had a morning show called Sunny Side Up, which I called it that because I wanted it to be a positive encouragement, inspirational morning show, in that it was lots of music and lots of fun talk and nothing heavy or anything that you know people would get wound up about or upset about. It was very low key and kind of like Bob. He wanted, if he had lived to do it, he wanted the morning show to be two people having, like we're doing right now, having a conversation, just talking about whatever subject comes up. People call in and talk about it, but not anything where people would butt heads. You know what I mean? Just easy, gentle conversation. And lots of music. And so that's what we did. And I don't know, I kept it going. And now 22 years later, it's still there. Oh, and when we opened the Bob Denver Museum, Little Buddy Radio, inside the museum, there will be a tiki hut, and that will house Little Buddy Radio.
Wow.
So it will be at the Bob Denver Museum. We'll have capability, obviously, to go live on the air and interview people there. And you know, I may open it up to allow local universities and colleges to have students be able to come in, and as long as they don't mess with my playlist, I'll be good. I like my playlist exactly like
I like my playlist exactly. Look what we dug up.
Oh my goodness! Look at that. That's from Scamps, the pilot for the TV series that we did.
That you guys did, huh?
Who was that young woman right there?
Dreama Denver. Right, exactly. In fact, yeah. So do you enjoy, like you said in the introduction a little bit, or when I welcomed you on, getting to get back into the acting world a bit? Is that exciting now for you?
Can you believe it? I hadn't acted in decades and missed it. You know, I gave it up when Colin was born and did it willingly, but that doesn't mean that I didn't miss it and didn't cry a few tears when I first had to give it up because I loved it so much. But again, it's the miracles I've been talking about that have happened for me. Back in January, I sort of got duped into auditioning. I didn't realize I was going to be auditioning, but Kevin Sizemore, the producer from Hollywood that I told you is a friend, kind of asked me, they were going to do his newest movie called Disconnected. They were going to do a table read, and he needed voices, he told me. And I said, okay, would I read a part? And I said, sure. And so anyway, it ended up, long story short, ended up being an audition, which I didn't realize it was going to be. And at the end of it, I got the part. Because they've been trying to get me back into it. I wouldn't do it. Because, you know, I left, I hope this makes sense, but I left on a high note. My acting career, mostly stage, had gone really well. And I was so afraid if I came back and I wasn't good or something, it would be a big disappointment to me, you know, that I would think, oh, I should have left everything alone. But no, I did. I went ahead and accepted the part. And do you know who T. Graham Brown is?
Sure, yeah.
Do you know that?
Yeah.
Well, T. Graham and I played husband and wife in this movie. And for people who don't know country music, he is Grand Ole Opry, an inductee, the whole thing. He's been around since the 80s. He's awesome. He's really wonderful. And so we were told at the end of this read, he was reading the grandfather part, and I was reading the grandmother part. We were told at the end that we had gotten those parts, and that was pretty exciting, shocking, but exciting. And we did that. The movie is about, well, let me say first that when I left acting, when I had to leave it, I was always playing the part of the pretty young love interest. Well, now I came back all these years later as the grandmother of the pretty young love interest. So that was full circle and really interesting to have happen. But the movie is about Disconnected, is all about the dangers of social media, AI, artificial intelligence. And it's very, very timely for this day and age, hugely so. And our grandchildren, we have a teenage grandson and granddaughter out in Reno, Nevada, and something happens to the granddaughter because of AI. She is implicated in something that she didn't do. And so they move back, the mother and the two grandkids come back to West Virginia to live with the grandparents while they sort of reestablish themselves in their lives. And that's just a real little Reader's Digest version of my part in the movie, but it was so wonderful to do it again. It's really, pertinent now to what's going on nowadays. And I think really has something to say, and they're coming together. The movie itself is coming together. They just posted the other day that they finished scoring the whole thing. So that was awesome. I got to do a music video. T. Graham and I did. Not that I'm a singer, because I'm not, but we got to be one of the songs. Del Nora is a country art. She's winning so many awards now.
Very
Country
popular.
gospel.
Yeah.
You know Del Nora?
Sure. Yeah.
Wonderful. She's so wonderful. And she had a song that she had newly released called Looking for the Light. And they're going to use it in the movie. So when they decided to use that, it's perfect for this part of the film. When they decided to use it, they decided they would do a music video and use T. Graham and I, because they're looking for the light, and we end up being the light that they find getting out of the mess in Reno. So that was so much fun, because I got to go to Nashville and do a music video in Nashville. How cool is that? It's so cool. And then I got to do a part in, what did I do a part in next? Oh, I just did a part in, for anybody who has watched on Amazon Prime, a movie called The Farmer and the Belle, Belle. They're now doing The Farmer and the Belle Part 2. And I got to play a cowgirl for the first time in my life.
Wow.
I got to be the owner of, I consider it a cameo part, but it was so much fun to do. I got to film in Greensboro, North Carolina at a real rodeo ranch, which was awesome because I've never done anything like that before. And I played the female owner of the rodeo ranch. So I'm with with the jeans and the boots and the hat and the whole thing. And it was so much fun. I was just so honored to be able to do it. And again, a cameo role, but that's okay, just to get to do what I love again, when I thought I never ever would. It can literally bring tears to my eyes. It's just so exciting to me to be able to tap into that part of me again. She was gone for a long time, by necessity, and to get back to it's great. And so I've also just recently gotten a part in a movie I filmed in September. It's called Pharma, Heist, and it's going to be filmed here in West Virginia. And it is about the drug problem in West Virginia, how Big Pharma kind of flooded this state with oxy drugs and all that kind of thing. And I think that one is a really, a good project, I think, because I think it says something and is vital to the health and well-being of my fellow West Virginians, to be able to do that. So it's exciting. I'm telling you, it's like rebirth. It really
It's unbelievable. Yeah, you are.
It's like being born again. And again, it's not
You're on
not to be
fire.
addressed, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Just to be able to be the grandmother in something. Yay! I'm so excited.
Of the love interest. So you still have that love interest connection
Yes.
all these
Yes.
years later, right?
But yes, for sure. And
Wow.
to get to work with T. Graham was like amazing to me. The people who are fans of his will know what I'm talking about. He's so special and just so genuinely funny. Like he didn't have to act at all. All he had to do was let the lines come out of his mouth, and you're like, yeah,
And
okay,
he's ready to
because he
go,
does some of the
right?
comedy relief in it, and he was so special. And his wife Sheila is so lovely, and I'm pretty convinced that she and I would be like best buddies if I lived in Nashville.
Oh,
We'd hang out. I'm pretty sure because
you
she's so
guys would
great.
be
You know,
tearing up the place. I'm still painting it red, I don't doubt. And that's
we definitely would.
the Denver Foundation. I just want to let folks know it's such a beautiful, reason for the existence of it, because the nonprofit actually supports families of children with special needs, and the veterans causes that you said earlier are so near and dear to your heart.
Right.
That's a beautiful thing that you're doing and giving back in that way, Dreama.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You always hear, I think this is sort of cliche, but you always hear when you're going through something difficult, like, a death or a breakup of a marriage or just a breakup of a relationship, whatever it is you're going through. And this is so true, cliche, but true. If you step outside yourself and your situation, however bad it is, whatever it is, and you do something for somebody else or something for the greater good, I know how cliche that is. I really do, but it's true. When I started doing things for the veterans, when I founded Honor Flight, when we started planning and making the trips, and we were on Capitol Hill so many times, we are in at least 10 congressional records, which is amazing to me that my husband is mentioned in the congressional records because of the Denver Foundation, and Bob would never have imagined that he would be in a congressional record, I'm pretty sure. But because of Honor Flight, he's mentioned. Little Buddy Radio is mentioned because it supports, it's nonprofit. It supports everything that we do. It doesn't make Dreama Denver rich. It just supports the things we do through the foundation. All of that took me out of my grief and out of my situation, my worry about my son, my all the things that we all deal with, not just me, but we all deal with things in our lives, and it was just such a healing thing, truly, to step outside all of that and just get out of my own head and think about somebody else, something else, try to do something for the greater good. I tell you, Honor Flight taught me, I think I had a healthy respect, like most Americans do, for our veterans, and the fact that they sign a blank check to give up everything, including their lives, if necessary, to protect our freedoms. I had a healthy respect for that. But once I started working with Honor Flight and spending time with these men and being at the World War II memorial with a World War II veteran and watching every single one of them without fail break down in tears, to see their memorial finally and to hear their story, how they stormed the beach of Normandy, how they were at Pearl Harbor. We had a couple of those. And to understand in a way that I'd never understood before that not only does the soldier deploy, but the entire family deploys. What families give up
That's
for
right.
their person to protect this country. I can get teary thinking about it.
Right, moving.
It affected me in ways I just didn't expect. I thought it would be a great thing to do, a wonderful way to honor, but the depth of all of it was so overwhelming to me. The emotion of it was so overwhelming. I remember many, many times being with Vietnam veterans who we would, on the stop, when you go to the Vietnam Wall, right there is also the Korean Memorial, the Vietnam Wall Memorial, and the Lincoln Memorial. So we would get there and we'd get off the bus and veterans would scatter. Some wanted to go here, some wanted to go there. And so, but I can remember a few times with Vietnam veterans, they would get off the bus and they couldn't move. They couldn't make themselves take the walk to the wall. It was that, see, I never understood the depth of the emotion that these veterans feel. And I can remember a couple of times being able to offer to go with the veteran or veterans, if it was more than one, and hold their hand and just be with them, even though I knew, and I told them I knew that I could never understand the depth of what they were feeling, that just to be with them and to share that moment with them if they thought that would help. And a couple of times they said yes, they thought that would make it better. And just being part of that, it's hard to it's really hard to describe the emotion of being part of that for them, and to have them hunt for a name of one of their friends who did not make it home, and to find the name and to be able to, it's just, it's just unbelievable. I've written actually another book that's not out yet. That's going to be in honor of the veterans. We don't have a title yet. None of that has happened, but I wanted to write books to honor their sacrifices. And this one is about a young man who wants to join the Army after high school graduation, and the family is iffy about it because the mother and the sisters are scared, and just I don't know. I'll let you know. We'll do another talk when that one comes out. But
She will.
I don't know. I just find myself wanting to honor the sacrifices that they make and the things that they give up, and the family too. The family gives up a lot.
Before we go, just a question as far as the fact that there you are back home in your beloved West Virginia, USA. You could be, in Bel Air, California, or Beverly Hills. You could be in Hollywood, where, the places where all these shows were filmed, and the TV series, Gilligan's Island, so much more. You could be in Miami with your feet in the sand. You could be in New York, but you're back home in West Virginia. What is it about being there and your roots and the love of the state and its people and the landscape and the roots that you have there in West Virginia? You could have been anywhere, but you're back home.
I know. Well, let me say one thing. In the middle of winter, when I'm on top of this mountain, I can't get down. I wish I was somewhere with my feet in the sand.
Miami with the feet in the sand.
No, you got that right. Anywhere with my feet in the sand. There's something about coming home. They say you can't go home again, and maybe you can't in exactly the same way. Obviously, I'm a grown woman now, and I was a teenager when we left here and all that. But I give God so much credit for everything. I believe what I didn't understand that he knew, because he knows the end from the beginning, was that I was going to need to be around family. Now, I don't have as much family now as I do when we moved here all those years ago, but to be, even to go back to a high school, I don't know if you've done this, Jim, you have to tell me, but even if you go back to a high school reunion and you haven't seen those people in 30 years, 35 years or something, there's a connection there. Have you ever done that?
High school and college, yeah, both.
And isn't there like a connection?
There is.
Even when you haven't seen it, you grew up together. There's something about those shared years that creates a connection that does not go away.
The clubs you were in, the teachers you had, the experiences, the class trips, right? All the memories.
Exactly.
What you were through together, right?
Yes, and it's just it kind of blows me away. But I came back to. I have friends now. You probably see me post sometimes on Facebook. 3 girlfriends that I can think of that I have known since kindergarten, and we're all still here miraculously. And we try to get together. We try to do it every month, but if nothing else, we try to all 4 of our birthdays get together and go out and have lunch and just I couldn't do that if I was someplace else. And there's something very grounding about that. Something about the people who knew you before you were Bob Denver's wife, who knew you when you know, had the crush in high school that didn't work out, your heart was broken, and you thought you
Right.
would survive, all those things that we go through when you did the bad haircut or tried to cut your own hair. And, just the people who've been with you through all that. It's just an amazing thing. And of course, family. I have, again, not as many people left in my family as I did, obviously, 36 years ago when we came back here. But it was lovely when we did have them to be able to have reunions and have Bob take part in that and have them be able to, hang out with Bob in that kind of situation. It was just, I don't know, being home. There's something about West Virginia also. The people are the kindest people. I was just watching during the World Cup. There's a young man from England, from the UK. His name is Josh, and I don't have a clue what his last name is, but he did periodic reports when he was back in the United States for the World Cup. And first of all, it's so funny or interesting to see this country through somebody else's eyes, because we're so used to the fact that this country is huge. But when you come from a little place like the UK, it's kind of, you can get around easily. He was like blown away by the size of the United States, number one. But he came to West Virginia. Now, I didn't meet him or anything, but I just saw him do a thing the other day. And today I can't do an English accent at all, but I'm in West Virginia, and the nicest people I've ever met. And the mountains are amazing, and they are. It's just an amazing place with the kindest people. So Bob always called them salt of the earth, and they really are. They would do anything for you. You're really back in nature, and it's off the beaten path, which is what Bob was looking for. Not as much as it was when I grew up here, because you can get in and out of West Virginia so easily now, and you couldn't back then. But it's just home. There's something very grounding. It's where your roots are. It's where just the smell of the air.
Right.
First time you smell the air in the fall, you go, you're 16 again,
You're 16 again, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful conversation with you, my friend, as they always are, as we've celebrated Bob and, of course, his amazing legacy and the legacy of 60 plus years of the incredible Gilligan's Island and everything else, all the beautiful things that you're doing as well, your books and the movies and all the cool things that I Heart Bob Denver documentary. Do you have a favorite episode of Gilligan's Island? Was there one that was Bob's and there's one that's yours?
Yes. Well, Bob had a few. All of the dream sequences in the third season, he loved. I think he especially loved when they worked on the Gunsmoke set. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes,
Where
right.
he got to be the sheriff, and I don't know. I remember Russ did a miner or something with no teeth. I remember that. And Ginger was the saloon girl, and Mary Ann was the school marm kind of thing. He loved that one because they got off the island and they got to do different characters. So he loved that. My favorite one has always been, and maybe because of my stage acting when I was younger, but I've always loved the Harold Hecuba episode. Do you remember that? Where I don't know how these people end up on the island. I can't remember, but he was a Hollywood producer, ended up on the island. Ginger knew him because, of course, she was Hollywood. And he ended up producing on the island there a To Be or Not to Be, a Hamlet. And Bob had the thing I loved about it, even before I knew Bob he could not sing at all. So he had to do, I say to be or not to be. This is the question that I ask of me. It was so funny to watch him do that.
Pretty good.
I loved it because they had everybody played a part in the Hamlet production that Hecuba put on. And somehow Ginger did not get off the island with him. I can't remember. I can never remember how people get on, how they got off without anybody ever going with them. But that was my favorite. I like that one.
It was a wonderful cast, wasn't it? Most not with us anymore. I think the only one left now is Tina
Tina.
Louise, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
She's the
Jim
only one left, and
Backus and
she won't talk about it. I
yeah,
find that very interesting. She did an interview, not picking on her or anything like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
She did an
yeah.
interview with the new. I want to say it was a video interview with the New York Times, maybe. Not too, maybe a year and a half ago, I guess, promoting her new memoir. And one of the two young women were, as I remember, two young women were interviewing her. And first thing they asked about was Gilligan's Island, and she said, "I'm not going to talk about that." So she won't talk about it. So I'm carrying the mantle. I'm trying to.
You are carrying the mantle, right?
I'm trying to keep it, you know, in people's minds and in their hearts and all that kind of good stuff, because none of the cast that loved it, that would talk about it, and,
Oh yeah.
you
Well,
know, they're all
Marianne, who
gone.
we lost not that long ago too, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
in 2020,
yeah.
in December of 2020. Yeah, she, you know, we were buddies for like 45 years, and she was such a sweetheart. And when she passed away, it was such an odd grief that I felt, because it was a grief certainly for losing my friend, but it was also a grief um, losing my connection to that part of my life. It felt like, because the people who are in my life now did not, except for family, did not know me back when I was a young actress, and but she did, you know. So when she and I would do personal appearances together as Marianne and Mrs. Gilligan, you know, she was somebody who knew that I'd been an actress and had acted with me and had done, you know, things with me, and so it was like a double whammy when she left. And she was so special. Dawn was everything you would hope she would
Dawn
be.
Wells, yeah,
She
yeah.
was everything you wanted Marianne, or the character, or the woman playing Marianne, everything you'd want her to be. That's what she was.
Folks might not realize that Jim Backus was also Mr. Magoo.
Yes, yes. I used to have a Mr. Magoo nose.
Did you really?
Yes. And as I've been looking through things, I've been trying to find
You'll
it. I
find
haven't
that
been able
one
to
too.
find it.
And
But we
of
had
course,
one of
the
the rubber
skipper
noses that he wore.
and the skipper. I mean, just a wonderful, and the
They were
professor.
great. They were all great people.
They
Even
were all,
Tina. I was
yeah.
only around Tina twice, because she didn't do any of the movies, and I was around for the movies. So I was only around her twice. She was always very, very sweet to me, and sent me a beautiful note after Bob passed away. She sent me a lovely card, or, you know, a note of condolence. So,
That is
you know,
beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Really
yeah.
nice. I want to make mention again, everything Bob Denver and Dreama Denver, folks. There's a lot going on, a lot of exciting things. Go to bobdenver.com to learn more. The iHeart documentary, the books, everything, all of her public appearances. I mean, you have frequent flyer miles, I hope, Dreama.
Do you know I've been driving to everything?
I do. She gets in there. If you see
there's
her
this,
going along
there's
singing the Gilligan's Island theme, you just passed Dreama Denver.
there's a synergy of some kind happening now. You know,
Isn't it? Well, yeah, like
I
you
mean, it
said
just
earlier,
feels
the
like
nostalgia.
everything,
Yeah, the
getting back
nostalgia.
into acting and the
Yeah,
museum and
yep.
the documentary. It just seems like there's this synergy of things that are
For
really coming
you,
together right now, which is awesome.
right? Absolutely right, and it's all well deserved because you are you're a trooper, you're a fighter, you are empathetic and compassionate, you're a loving person, you got
Thank
an
you.
incredible wit. I mean, we've had a lot of funny moments on our show, and you've been a guest over the years with us here too. But you also are very inspiring, empowering, and you have this resilience, this can do. We will get through this. We can do this, even at the what can be the lowest points in life of
Yeah.
whether it's health or loss or anything that goes on. You have a way to sort of pull from the depths of your soul and your heart and rise above it, which is very inspiring. You could be, a life coach, motivational speaker type with all the myriad of things you've been through, you've endured, you've achieved and you've celebrated in your life.
That's the thing about Gilligan's dreams, I think, and you'll agree with this, I think. I have a lot of touchstones because I have gone through a lot of things that people go through. And I don't know, because something we talked about before the show, um, you know, sometimes in those moments, I don't think I can get through it. I've talked about this before on the show. I think I was diagnosed with breast cancer about 10, 12 years ago, and got through that and got through it with flying colors. Thank you, Lord. But there were moments when I thought, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. Being the mother of a severely autistic child who is 42 years old now and still nonverbal. And if you had told me back 30 years ago or back before he was born that I would be able to get through that and deal with it, I would have said, no, I can't. I won't be able to do it. So believe me, even though I do it, there are times in the middle of it that I think I can't do this. I have to assume that's true of most people who go through, life-changing challenges. I guess that's true of everybody, but the fact that I do get through it and come out the other end sometimes shocks me a little bit because it can be overwhelming, just life.
It's all part of it, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
You are truly a light and a levity, as we said before, too. One of our Jim Master Show levities for sure. Continue to be and a ray of sunshine. And it's always a real pleasure getting a chance to catch up with you and connect with you. And you have so many other exciting things on the horizon, too, that, well, definitely you asked, can I come back on the show? And the porch light's always on for you, Dreama. You're welcome back here. And thank you.
Listen, as things happen, that synergy as it all keeps coming together, I hope I'll have all kinds of things to talk to you about. So I don't ever want to be boring, Jim. And I do want to say this, and I'm going to ask if it's okay. Am I allowed to say that I love you? Because I do. You are so much fun to talk to, and you make it so easy, and it's so relaxed, and I've enjoyed it every time I've been on with you, and I'm enjoying it every bit as much today. And I'm very grateful that you have me on as often as you do. Thank you.
A pleasure is all mine. Love you back, Dreama. You are somebody that I consider a wonderful friend, a dear person, and you sent me the aloha, Dreama Denver. I mean, this is always nearby. Good old Bob and Gilligan, and you really are a sweet person and a sweet spirit, and that's why everybody is they're attracted to you. That's why all this energy, this positive energy, is attracted to you as well. Why people want you to be involved in this event or now be in the films again. There's just something about you, an aura and a warmth that obviously not only do we see, but wonderful Bob saw so many years ago and was not going to let it go. And as a result, this wonderful love affair and marriage between the two of you, as you continue to celebrate him, Gilligan, the series, and so much more. It's just a beautiful thing. Love you back. We're going to keep that porch light on for you, my friend Dreama Denver.
Okay.
And you are welcome back, and truly hope you enjoyed the time with me once again, as I have with you. I always do.
I always do too. And I'm going to tell you, because I should have sent this to you because I think it's so cute. But on my Facebook page, if you go look, I think it might be the last post I made, a picture of Bob and me and Colin when Colin was about 4 years old. That was in People magazine back in 1988. And if you want to see a picture full of love, go look at that one. It is so sweet. I ran across it last week.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in a long time, and I ran across it, and literally it just took my breath away. I knew the love that was in the photo, the way Bob's and Colin and Bob look so much alike in this picture. I can't even tell you. So go take a look at that. And don't forget the website. Everything's available on the website. So
BobDenver.com made it easy breezy.
Yeah.
You're a sweetheart. Thank you so much for being with us, Dreama. Of course, continue to spread the word about our show. We will continue to spread the word about you and all the beautiful things you're doing, and
Okay.
really appreciate the wit and wisdom and the love and all the time. And I know viewers love when you're on with us. So you've got a home here, a home there in West Virginia, and a home
Okay.
here on the Jim Masters Show, my friend.
Okay. I'm going to be bunking in. You know, I'm going to be there. So get ready.
We will be waiting for you.
Okay. That's great.
Love you, and you take care. We'll talk again soon.
Love you too. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye now. Wow, Dreama Denver here on the Jim Masters Show. What a sweetheart. What a beautiful person. She really is. And if you want to learn more about the story and about everything that she's doing, and she's got her hands full. She's involved in a lot of incredible things. Go to bobdenver.com. Learn about all the wonderful books that she's written as well. And of course, the Bears books too, and the new one. And Bob Denver's book, her books about Gilligan's dreams, and just, oh my God, let's take a look. There they are. Gilligan's dreams. We've talked about that a lot on our series. Newest is Island to Icon. Another wonderful one too, that she, just continues the stories in such a beautiful way. She's a wonderful writer too. She's a brilliant author, best-selling author, and an actress, and getting back into the game, which is so cool to see our friend Dreama Denver back in. Going all the way back to Scamps, which she mentioned. There she is with Bob as well. And cool stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give this episode a thumbs up, like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV. We love when you do that. Also, it lets us know you're enjoying what we're doing here on the Jim Masters Show series, the Jim Masters Show Celebrity Conversations series. So if you enjoyed this episode, drop a comment below in the comments section. What are some of your favorite memories from Gilligan's Island, Dobie Gillis, any of the other incredible things that good old Bob Denver was a part of? And of course, celebrating Dreama, our very special guest, and all of her accomplishments and her continued love and appreciation for Bob and for Gilligan's Island and for so much more. It's hard to believe over 60 years it's been since the debut of Gilligan's Island on television. Share your Gilligan's Island favorite memories too, your favorite episodes and favorite scenes and favorite characters. We'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment below. Like, comment, share this episode with your friends if you love nostalgia, classic TV, you love all these great stories we shared with our very special guest, Dreama Denver, coming to us from her home in beautiful West Virginia, USA. She's a regular here on our show. Go back in the archives and check out some of the other amazing episodes we've had. Lots of laughs, viewer interaction, and so much more with the beloved Dreama Denver. She's a dear friend of ours, and we love having her here. We also love having you here as well. If this is your first time, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Celebrity Conversations series. It's wonderful to have you here. If you've been here since day one, thanks for your loyalty and your support and love of our show here. It's a pleasure to put these shows together. Come see us again. We'll keep the porch light on for you as well. Don't go anywhere. Another episode comes up of our series. You can check one out. And we have a huge archive of hundreds and hundreds of past episodes that you can check out as well. So for Dreama Denver, Bob Denver, Jim Masters, and all of us here, thanks for being with us. We love having you. And come see us again. Cheers.